Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 630.
WMAL.
7:37 on a hot Thursday morning in July. This is the Morning Majority. Brian Neiman, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Wilson. Time to get back into the gang of six. Go for it or gong it. We need to bring back the Gong Show.
Oh, yeah. In favor of that.
David Addington joins us from the Heritage Foundation. He's been looking into this plan, or the rough outline of the plan. I don't know if it's an actual plan
right,
yet.
I hesitate to call it a plan.
Yeah,
totally.
he joins us now. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
So what do you think?
Well, as you say, it's not really a plan. They want to do a little bit now, but they promise that, even though they haven't done it in the last 50 years, next time on the second promise, Congress is going to balance the budget.
Totally.
Is there a possibility that if you, in the wording of it, when it gets to the legislative portion of the bill or whatever it's going to be, that they could write something that would force them to actually make these cuts?
No, of course. Congress can't bind itself as to its future process of how it's going to drive down federal spending and borrowing. And that's the real problem. Even if you like government by gangs, the Gang of Six is just way off base. They say that they're going to do $500 billion now in unspecified cuts and unspecified tax increases. And the rest of it is just a promise that at some time in the future they're going to finally get responsible. It's hardly a plan for driving down spending and borrowing, and any plan that depends on tax increases is a bad idea.
Well, could you say that about any budgets? I mean, could you even say that about the Paul Ryan budget, that it's just promises of what could happen down the road or what they want to happen down the road?
It's always true that in the congressional budget process, a budget is a plan for future action by Congress, but the Gang of Six isn't supposed to be writing a budget. They're supposed to be writing the actual plan and the actual legislation that cuts the spending. And unfortunately, they've said, we're just going to give directions to a future Congress, this Congress in a few months to accomplish that.
Well,
it's kicking the can down the road yet again.
And the $500 billion that's supposed to be the upfront savings, they have specified nothing that would come from, right?
That's right. All they've indicated is, well, there are going to be some spending cuts and there are going to be tax increases. Well, what are we supposed to buy, a pig in a poke here?
Well, David, I agree with you that we need to be careful here, and I agree with you that in a perfect world, I'd love that cap and balance. Thank you very much. You're helping me out. Maybe that's the way that I would like it personally to go. But what you and I want doesn't matter. What matters on Capitol Hill and what matters in Washington is a deal that can be put together that will get enough votes to avoid a default.
Well,
if not this, then what's the pathway to success here for you?
The pathway to success is for Congress to do what the American people want done.
Well, I know that, but they're not gonna.
Yes, they do. I think you'll find over time that the Congress ultimately ends up being fairly representative of the American people.
Does that happen with the? Do we have to get to default before that happens?
We hope that these folks will come to their senses, that President Obama won't insist on taking the credit of America hostage to his tax increase plans. He's got 9 more days to come to his senses and recognize that the American people want him to get overspending under control. The cut, cap, and balance plan passed the House of Representatives. The American people got their will. They got a gang of 234 over there as opposed to the mere 6 in the Senate, and they've sent responsible legislation over to the Senate. Cut, cap, and balance isn't perfect, but it's a darn good step in the right direction.
But you've been around this town for a long time, and you watched, for example, and as I did, Ronald Reagan. He would fight, and he would fight, and he would fight, and he would fight. He would stand his ground and stand his ground, and he'd say he wasn't going to compromise. He wasn't going to budge off of his points of principle. And then in the last moment, he would take 75 or 80% of what he wanted, and he'd sign a deal. I mean, compromise is not necessarily a bad word if you get most of what you want.
But we're not even getting close to 75 or 80% here.
We're barely off the launching pad. As you know, Congress unfortunately responds only to true deadlines, and what we've seen in the last 2 weeks is a lot of political theater. Next week, they've got to make a decision. August 2nd is looming. If you sit down and analyze from the Financial Management Service of the Department of Treasury, and they make it public, it's on their website, what money's coming in and what bills are coming due, it's clear that after August 2nd, the federal government can't pay all of its bills. And if the president is going to be responsible, he should drop his political efforts to please his base by hiking taxes on Americans and instead go with a plan to cut spending and get the country moving forward again and make sure we can pay our bills.
Well, I know everybody, when they talk about cut, cap, and balance, the conventional wisdom is, oh, it's dead on arrival, it's totally not worth even discussing in the Senate. But 22 Democrats in the Senate have been on the record as pro-balanced budget amendment in the past. Could not some pressure be brought on those people? I mean, and a balanced budget is very popular with the American people.
Mm-hmm.
The balanced budget is popular with the American people. 72% of them think we ought to have a balanced budget. And Senate Joint Resolution 10 that Senators Hatch and Lee have introduced is a sound balanced budget amendment. All three elements, cut, cap, and the balanced budget amendment, are important. Now, we also have to remember that the balanced budget amendment isn't going to take effect for a long time, and we can't wait that long. We dug ourselves into a $14.294 trillion hole, and we have to start getting out of it now. And that's what the cutting spending is about. That's what the capping future spending is about. And we need to get that done now in the context of this debt limit legislation and not wait. We've had the can kicked down the road. We can't wait longer. It is important in the long run, of course, to have a balanced budget amendment to anchor this in so we don't have these kinds of crises every year in Washington.
All right, you're cool in the Gang of Six. More and more people are coming out saying, hey, I don't know about this. What do you think is going to happen in the next week and a half?
Well, I remain ever hopeful that the legislative process that we have will actually work when it comes under final pressure. The ball is in the president's hands. If he is going to continue to insist on tax hikes, he is putting at risk the America's ability to pay its bills come August 2nd. There is nobody in America, I shouldn't say nobody, there's always somebody, but the majority of Americans, the vast majority, do not want to see the federal government continue to grow, spend more and more, take more and more taxpayers' dollars, especially during a recession when people are having a hard time as it is, and we all know that raising taxes in a recession is an economic disaster recipe.
Well, David Addington, good to have you here on the Morning Majority, and I'm hoping, like you do, that we do the right thing. But I'm beginning to wonder right now.
Well, we at
time
Heritage
winds down.
remain confident. The Heritage Foundation's got faith that eventually we're going to have the principles of limited government, free enterprise, and individual freedom take root in the United States Senate.
All right, David, good to have you with us here.